Warning: the following video will contain language of a frank and explicit nature. Viewer discretion is advised. Also, we'll be talking about controversial subject matter, such as crossing comic books and the world of politics. So if either of these disturb you, upset you, or you don't want to hear any of this, stop watching now. For everybody here, hey guys, Dave here, and I'm going to try to get back to the fun videos in a bit, but something has come to my attention that I really feel like I've got to talk about. And before I do, I want to make a point that I am Dave, but I am not a porn star. Now, why am I making a point of that? I have nothing against people in the adult industry. I have friends that are members of the adult and fetish industry, and much love to them. I myself am not a porn star. Why am I making that statement? Simple. If I were to see someone forcibly trying to sexually assault, molest, or rape somebody in any part of the body orifices, including the ear, I don't have to be a porn star to know that it's wrong, it's causing harm and damage, and it needs to be stopped. Now, why am I saying this? Well, I'm glad you asked. I came across this in my news feed today. Last week, Donald Trump, instead of going to the Iowa Republican debates, he had a fundraiser. Well, here's the kicker. The CEO of Marvel Entertainment, Isaac Perlmutter, donated $1 million to Donald Trump's personal nonprofit during a fundraiser. Now, here's the kicker. All of the money donated is going to his nonprofit organization, the Donald J. Trump Foundation. Now, Trump says it's supposed to be going to veterans, but it's not going directly to them. He's going to be the middleman, and however the funds get divvied up, it'll be him. Now, why am I making a point of this? Well, see, I'm a little disturbed. See, Marvel Comics back in the day was known as the House of Ideas. It was a place of trying to fulfill fan requests, and for the longest time, they had a tagline on it, because you demanded it. They listened to what people had to say, and they tried to do their best to fulfill that wish, to put it on the comics and to give you what you wanted to see. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. However, this starts to show something pretty frightening. If the CEO of Marvel Comics or Marvel Entertainment gives that kind of money to his good friend Donald Trump, who has said he wants to ban all Muslims from coming into the country. He wants to build a wall keeping illegal immigrants from Mexico out, and also make Mexico pay for it. If he's also going under the Republican debate, Republican ticket, there's a lot of things that he's going to be trying to go for, including a lot of anti-abortion, anti-homosexual things, and a lot of these things are actually been present in Marvel Comics for a long time. And like I said, I hate getting it's mixing my fun with politics. It's boring. It's it's headline grabbing, whatever. But Donald Trump is a guy that he's making a bid to become president of the United States of America. He's saying a lot of inflammatory and insulting and in some cases prejudicial rhetoric just to get a reaction out of people. People say that they're liking what Trump says because he speaks his mind. Yeah, that doesn't necessarily make it criteria. I mean, Deadpool says what's on his mind too, and he may be entertaining, but I'm not going to vote for president for Deadpool. No. Now, I'm a little disturbed because, well, a lot of people are reacting. Well, I mean, they're talking about getting rid of their Marvel figures and stuff like that, and just they want to boycott anything that they do with Marvel until the CEO of Marvel Entertainment steps down. And I gotta admit, it did my heart good to see a bit of that, because a while back I saw that Marvel was going after Gary Friedrich, one of the creators of Ghost Rider, and how crappy they were treating him. I boycotted Marvel for a bit. I missed seeing several Marvel movies in the theaters, including The Avengers. When I made a stand, it felt like I was doing the right thing, but a lot of people went ahead and saw it anyway. They sympathized with my plight and whatnot, but they did their thing, and they also laughed at me. I'm not crazy about that. But the reason I'm bringing that up now is, see, one of the things that I hear people talk about Marvel Comics, and trust me, I grew up reading DC, Marvel, a lot of independent comics. This is not DC versus Marvel bashing. This is not other companies versus Marvel. And I'm also not trying to tell people who to vote for. I'm not trying to give my bit about who you should be voting for. I'm just warning people about the iffy nature about what's going on here. See, a while back, Marvel Comics stopped calling their characters heroes or villains and started referring to them as characters, because technically heroes and villains can be interchangeable. Villains are heroes in their own story if they're talking about their own narrative. So they flip-flop. But whatever story they feel like telling that day, that's the one you get to follow. We've seen Norman Osborn, the Green Goblin, become the leader of a superhero team called the Thunderbolts, actually composed of supervillains. We've seen Dr. Octopus take over the body of Peter Parker and become the superior Spider-Man. And although it's shaking things up, it shows a frightening trend that good and bad is all a matter of perspective, and it doesn't matter as long as you get to tell a story. The CEO of Marvel Entertainment gave $1 million to Donald Trump, a guy who's also kicked protesters out of his rallies. If any camera people were to go to one of Donald Trump's events, like the Young Turks recently, the Young Turks were told specifically, keep your camera on Trump. If you try to move around, get any reaction shots for the crowd, you'll be kicked out. And they were. There have been people that didn't say anything. They just silently stood there in protest and were kicked out, ejected. Some people, he actually said, take their coats and put them outside when it was below freezing. Did they ever get their property back? If not, that's theft. And this is a guy that's building up a rhetoric of hate, of anger, of prejudice, feeding off of that. Hell, if people suddenly started developing superhuman powers that they were just born with and just started happening one day, it's my opinion that Donald Trump would start creating the rallying point to say that he, thinks that all mutants should be registered, labeled, and made second-class citizens. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong. Of course, there's also, back in the comics, there's the island of Genosha that originally got their start by saying that they were mutant-friendly until they captured mutants, enslaved them, and used them for cheap labor for what they were creating. So, you'll be kicked out. And they were. There have been people that didn't say anything. They just silently stood there in protest and were kicked out, ejected. Some people, he actually said, take their coats and put them outside when it was below freezing. Did they ever get their property back? If not, that's theft. And this is a guy that's building up a rhetoric of hate, of anger, of prejudice, feeding off of that. Hell, if people suddenly started developing superhuman powers that they were just born with and just started happening one day, it's my opinion that Donald Trump would start creating the rallying point to say that he, thinks that all mutants should be registered, labeled, and made second-class citizens. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong. Of course, there's also, back in the comics, there's the island of Genosha that originally got their start by saying that they were mutant-friendly until they captured mutants, enslaved them, and used them for cheap labor for what they were creating. So, am I saying that Donald Trump's going to create a mutant sweatshop? I don't know. I haven't seen the evidence of that, but I wouldn't be surprised. But I digress. See, my buddy Neil told me one time that a derogatory term that some in the comic book industry refer to certain diehard Marvel Comics fans is the term Marvel Zombies. Now, yes, there was a popular comic book series out a while back, but apparently Marvel Zombies refers to the hardcore fans that no matter what happens in the books, no matter what direction things go, they're treated as if they were brainless, hungry beings that simply go to try to satiate their desire, their drive. And as long as they get that and are fed and happy, they'll just keep on doing whatever they want and toe the bottom line for whoever's providing it. Now, I personally thought this was a bit insulting, and I didn't want to believe it. I didn't want to believe that they would actually just flat out derogatorily call their fans Marvel zombies. This is part of the reason why I'm wearing this shirt. But after trying to make my own stand for Gary, which eventually after about 2 years, things actually were set right for him, so I stopped protesting, so I was able to pick up comics and go to the movies and stuff like that. I saw how people treated me, and I saw what I thought I was doing the right thing at the time. People were saying, boycott Marvel until the CEO steps down. Stop buying the toys. Get rid of the property you have. I have a bunch of Marvel shirts that I didn't wear during the time that Gary was being, having the crap going through him, so I was protesting Marvel that way. But I'm worried about what might happen now, because I don't think what's going on is right. Several of the superheroes that are covered in Marvel Entertainment are things that Donald Trump in the real world stands against. I mean, if Donald Trump were to be in the Marvel universe, with the rhetoric he's talking, with all the things that he's trying to do, I personally think he might take the role of a supervillain. But Marvel's just about interchanging characters. It's not about heroes or villains. It's about protagonists and antagonists. It's about whatever story we want to hear and whatever story we want to tell. The reason I'm bringing all this up is because I'm a little frightened. I believe in people. I believe in humanity. And I believe that comic book fans read comics not just to see about the flashy costumes and the powers and abilities that people have, but some of these people are actually role models, that they help to inspire people to go beyond their own limits, their own disabilities, to stand up for what they believe in, to do what they believe is right, and to make an actual difference when they can in the real world. They inspire people to do that, to be their own heroes. And I love that about them. But I see this, and I'm telling people that a man who has flat out said, I'm so popular, I could go out and shoot someone in the street right now, and I won't lose any voters. A man that said this received $1 million from the CEO of Marvel Entertainment. That's practically saying that he supports that belief. He supports someone that will act like a supervillain and get away with it because he can. I don't like to believe that people will stand for it. I don't like to think that people are so gullible or foolish or submissive that they're going to stand for something like this to happen. But then I see what's coming out. I tell people about this, and I can't help but wonder, is the whole term about being called a Marvel zombie right? If I tell you that Marvel CEO has given this money to Donald Trump, who is going to be pushing a prejudicial and bigoted agenda, what are you going to do about it? What are you, the comic book fans of Marvel, going to do to make your voices heard? And then I start to be afraid. Not because of the possibility of Donald Trump being elected, but seeing that, I remember hearing that one of the easiest thing that evil needs to flourish is that good men do nothing. We are the people. We're the ones with the power if we raise up our voices, if we make ourselves heard, if we stand up to make our voices heard, to stand against what we don't like. But I see this, and you're not going to take a stand, are you? I can tell you that this guy is, that Marvel is funding Trump, giving $1 million to a billionaire for a presidential campaign. He says he'll help veterans out, but this is also the same guy that said that he personally saw thousands of Muslims cheering when the towers went down on 9/11. And there's been no evidence or proof of that. So you're taking this guy at his word. Sure, if the people speak up and demand answers, demand that the money goes to where it needs to go, if you use your power, your oversight to see that it happens, something might get done. But you're not going to, are you? If Marvel is supporting someone like Trump, pretty much saying it's okay for this man to go out and shoot someone in the street and not lose voters, to treat you like you're nothing. The movie Deadpool's coming out in a couple weeks. You're not going to boycott the movie. You're not going to stop buying Marvel comic books and merchandise. You're not going to stop your plans from going to see Captain America Civil War. You're just going to keep on giving hundreds of millions of dollars to a company so they can give $1 million of that to someone like Donald Trump. A drop in the bucket. $1 million is nothing because they'll make it back like that, thanks to you. What happened? What happened to Marvel Comics being the house of ideas to decades later going to the company that tells you what you should like and think? What happened? Guys, I genuinely don't know. I don't know why people are only partially making their voices heard and want to stand up against something that is clearly wrong and clearly becoming more of a fascist statement. Why don't you do more? Why don't you stop watching Agent Carter or Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. to give them ratings? Why won't you stop buying their merchandise and their cartoons on DVD or download? Why are you going to give them money if you know this is happening? Because it just seems like you genuinely don't care. You're acting like walking wallets, Marvel zombies. It doesn't matter if he gives $1 million to Trump because you're just going to give them more, willingly. It doesn't matter if you... It doesn't matter what he does because you're going to prove them right. You're not going to say anything. You're going to be silent. You're going to just let it happen because you don't have any money. You don't have any power. Think about this. Marvel, DC, Independent, whatever comic book heroes you like. Think about the position that they're in right now. Think about what Marvel's CEO has done for Donald Trump. What would your favorite heroes do? Now, I know they'd react in a certain way, but forget about the thoughts about their powers, abilities, and weapons. What would their sentiments be? What would their stand be? What would they want to fight for? What would they want to fight against? If you guys want to be heroes so badly, you all have your own power. You all have your own strength. But you give it away willingly just because you can be entertained. It boggles my mind. It's like people can do anything they want as long as they have the money and as long as they're entertaining and doing it. If I, no, for the sake of argument, if I said I wanted to, try to rape somebody, of course, this is vile, this is heinous. It's a crime that I absolutely detest. I wouldn't do anything with it. But if I said I was going to do that, yes, that's wrong. Everyone would agree to that. But if I say I'm going to rape somebody, I'm coming at their backside holding a rubber chicken saying, "Here comes a num-num for Mr. Sweet Cheeks!" Who just laughed? I'm entertaining. Does that mean that I could assault that person and be okay as long as I'm entertaining while doing it? While acting like Deadpool or the Joker or any other comic book character? If I'm entertaining to watch, if I become something that would make a great story, does that excuse the crime I've done? Does that excuse the crimes that I will do? Or does it just make you feel better for just a little bit? Is that all it takes to make you look the other way, to laugh? Are you that easily bought? I don't know. I want to be wrong. I want to believe that you, the people, have more sense than this. Have more desire to see that this is wrong. More desire to speak out and to, if necessary, make yourselves financially heard by not backing a company that would do this. You give money to Marvel. Marvel gave money to Donald Trump. What are you going to do about it? I'm not trying to tell you who to vote for. I'm not trying to tell you who I'm voting for. But I see that this is wrong. Something has to be done. One person alone can't do it. We have to make our voices heard. We have to make our own individual stands. And maybe together we can make our collective voices heard. What do you think? Until next time, signing out. Peace. Yum yum.